All right, and welcome back to PEX Network's Process Mining Live 2020. I'm Seth Adler from IQPC Digital, also the host of the PEX Network podcast. Thank you so much for joining us for the sessions up until now, and thanks for coming in through to this session, Powering Automation and Transformation Using Computer Vision and Machine Intelligence. Avinash Mishra, the CEO of Skan, is giving us exactly what we're looking for. So without further ado, please welcome Avinash Mishra.
Thank you, Seth. Thanks for introducing me. Hi, everyone. We enter this conference on a this meeting on a web conference, which is probably the way next few months everyone's going to work. So good practice for everyone on a webinar. What a pleasure to be here. Hope all of you are safe and well in your homes or wherever you are in different geographies, different time zones. About Skan. Skan is a process discovery platform that uses computer vision and cognitive technologies to understand work. And of course, part of work is process and the nuances of work and so on and so forth. We will be talking about all those aspects, why what we are doing is important, and show you some examples of what we've been able to achieve with customers at scale. So the first thing that we want to jump into is with a set of two quick questions to yourselves, and I'd be delighted if you could answer them. One is that, what is the burning challenge your company is grappling with right now? Top of the mind, is it scaling RPA, robotic process automation, or making digital transformations work, or get a return on investment on those, get a grip on operations, upskill or upgrade your workforce, or all of the above? So this is a question that you may want to answer on your screens. What is the burning challenge your company is grappling with? Is it scaling RPA, making digital transformation pay off, get a grip on our operations, upskill and upgrade the workforce, or all of the above? So I'll give you a few seconds before we move to the next slide. And Seth, if I'm waiting too long, just let me know, but I'll give it a few seconds.
You're doing
we do have the results. The next question that we'd like you to answer is, how does your enterprise currently not just map, but model and manage processes? So how does your enterprise map, model, and manage processes? You are running pilot programs with process mining and process discovery tools. You are researching and exploring process mining technologies and discovery technologies. You are relying on process maps built by business analysts, or your process and operations are currently intractable, invisible, or in a black box. So once again, how does your enterprise map, model, and manage processes? We are running a pilot program with process mining and discovery tools. We are researching and exploring process mining and process discovery technologies. We are relying on process maps built by BAs, business analysts, and our process and operations are a black box. So if you could click on those answers, whichever apply to you, and then we move to talking about process discovery, process mining in a lot more detail. Seth, do I move to the next slide?
Absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. And I'll go back very quickly to the results of the first question. We see that there, on the burning challenge, there is an even distribution across all of these, but more to the point is all of the above, which is that there is a sense that, hey, RPA is not the only thing that we have on our plate. We have to make digital transformation pay off. We are trying to manage. And of course, on a slightly lower level is upskill and upgrade the workforce. And as I talk to you, and discuss this aspect. I'll bring out this aspect of how workforce is ingrained and integrated into business process in a way that has historically been invisible. As answers to the second question, how does your enterprise map, model, and manage processes? Again, a very healthy and an equal distribution across the whole spectrum. And yes, I'm not at all surprised that all of us still use business analysts, and that's the way we've done it. And there is a importance of doing that. But now we've got to move to the next stage and understand what is it that human business analysis is missing, and what does process mining and process discovery do for us. I also see about 1/5 of us have been very honest, and thank you for doing that. Those that have said that our processes are a black box. Somewhere, if all of us were honest, they are indeed black boxes. So thank you. So everyone, we begin with this notion of what we call as the invisible enterprise. And as words go, they are placeholders for a certain amount of meaning. What is the meaning behind the invisible enterprise? And what constitutes the invisible enterprise? Because we are in a process mining webinar and a process discovery webinar, our natural instinct is to say, well, the invisible part of the enterprise is all aspects of the process which are hidden. And so to the practitioners of process mining, the hidden aspects of process are, well, that a certain invoice moves through stages 1, 2, 3, and 7 and 8, and stages 6 and 5 are not known, or we do not know the modality or the number of times the process stage stays at stages 6 and 7. And 6 and 7 may represent a question asked to someone, may represent a certain step in the process where the invoice is rejected, and so on and so forth, right? I'm taking a very simple example. Is that the invisible enterprise? Yes and no. Yes, because a lot of organizations are not at this level where they even know how certain things are moving within the enterprise at committed states of data, right? So there is a committed state of data which says invoice processing started. There is a committed state of data which says invoice processing rejected, and a committed state of data which says invoice processing has succeeded and payment has been made, right? So on these committed states of data, there is the first level of invisibility, and which process mining brings to the fore. That if you look at the logs of that business process, you will get to know these committed states of data. But that is still not the totality of the invisible enterprise. I think the invisible enterprise is much larger in that between these committed states of data, between these two things, and as these two things come into play, as the processing of the invoice started to getting to a certain state, there is a lot of action that is happening. There are a lot of things that human agents or other systems are either doing or getting done. And this is what we call as the invisible enterprise, that it dwarfs anything that we record in the backend or anything that is recorded in the logs. It dwarfs by an order of magnitude these process nuances in terms of human actions with digital systems. These exceptions, these choices that we make constitute a bulk of the invisible enterprise. Now, I said that it dwarfs by an order of magnitude. What is the scale of this invisible enterprise? The key drivers of the scale of this invisible enterprise, or the invisible part of the enterprise, is that we set up business processes at a certain point in time. We create business systems, and along with business systems and ERPs and other things that we put into place, we have a process in play. And this is done at a certain point in time. As systems evolve, as business evolves, competitive pressures, change in legislation, compliance, all of these things lead us to adapt. Business systems can only adapt with a certain speed. Humans can adapt much faster. So what happens is that over time, there's a divergence between what business systems were built for and what people are actually making them do. This is fundamentally what drives the scale of this invisible enterprise. But there are a lot of hidden nuances that start entering into the picture through tooling, through unspoken things, through standard operating procedures, which do not reflect themselves in the backend or in the process logs, which people do. And that is what fundamentally drives its scale. So time and the volatility of business, both upstream and downstream, is what creates working in the enterprise that is invisible to anyone other than people who are doing that job, and even invisible to themselves, as I'll explain later. What is the impact of this invisibility? The impact of this invisibility is that anything today that we design by way of an intervention into a digitally premised business process depends upon our knowledge of the atomic actions that are happening within that business process. As a result, if we do not have a deep enough understanding of this invisibility or these atomic actions in the business process, whatever we do by way of automation, process transformation, even compliance, all of these are doomed to work at a certain level of abstraction, below which we cannot impact them or change them, or even have them play a vital role in the transformation process. To take an example, if let us say we had to automate a business process, and we only were told at a certain level of abstraction, certain parts of the thing that were happening in the process, we will automate only those things, right? And then when we put that bot into production, we will be caught in this endless cycle of updating the bot as it fails, right? I have a long background in business process transformation and RPA. And a lot of times we used to say that automation begins when automation fails, because that's when you discover where is it that the thing that we did not know happens, and then you try to bring in automation again. So you're caught in this endless cycle, and the robustness of automation then takes a hit. And what is true of automation is true of all aspects of digital transformation. Automation is a burning example, but there are other examples too around training of individuals and people. Well, this process is not giving us the result that we're looking for by way of throughput, quality, or whatever, right? So what do? We train everyone, right? We say, okay, shut down, train everyone, as opposed to knowing exactly where the problem lies, on what tooling, on what set of people, where is it that is intersect. And that's the invisibility we are talking about, that a model-based, data-based, empirical evidence as to what is actually happening in the organization at the atomic scale. So from a next slide perspective, I think all of us know currently, if we want to find out what's happening within the business processes or in the entire organization, we say, well, all right, let's have business analysts. And for a moment, let's park process mining and process discovery. But to those of us who are not aware of this or who are not doing it right now, what do, right? We say, all right, let's budget out in any given transformation project, let's budget out a discovery phase, right? And a certain allocation of time and dollars to that. And then you have, a set amount of business analysts mapping out business processes for you. And what do? They either talk to people, they read standard operating procedures, they make observations, and of course, all those observations or reading those standard operating procedures or talking to people is on their judgment as to which is the most representative set of people who would be worthy talking to, right? And they can't talk to everyone. You have a large process, large number of people. You have a subset of people that you talk to. What comes out of that is that there is this happy path that comes to be described, right? And this happy path is not fundamentally because they could not ask or the other party could not tell. That is there, of course, but there is a certain Heisenbergian almost uncertainty about what they have mapped. And the reason for that Heisenbergian uncertainty and lack of knowledge is because people find it very difficult to describe something that has become part of their habit, right? So there is this tacit dimension of knowledge that exists. And in that tacit dimension of knowledge, we find very difficult to describe things that we have come to understand so well. So the more you know about a business process, the less you can talk about it. Yes, when the situation arrives, you can do those things, but you cannot describe it, right? So there is that. And as I'll talk later, there are also fundamental limits to what people will tell and what people won't tell, right? In terms of their own confidence of what they're doing is right or wrong. So this happy path that comes out is a few boxes and arrows, and this leaves out the innumerable process variants and the nuances in that process. And it has been very good up until now, or a few years ago when the amount of digital tooling was limited. But as the amount of digital tooling has grown and the permutations and combinations and the nuances and the exceptions have grown, today, this kind of output from BAs is nothing more than wall art, right? We can do things with it, but what we do will forever at this level of complexity is doomed to be suboptimal. One answer to all of this is, of course, process mining. And what does process mining involve? As some of us might know, is process mining involves that for given enterprise systems, it may be ERPs, it may be other systems, SAP, Oracle, whatever, right? These systems write logs. Whatever is happening on the system, they log it. Process mining involves reading those logs, event logs from these application systems, and from this data, be able to create an understanding of what are the nuances at a transaction level that a business process went through. So this invoice, for example, or this order, or this due diligence request went through these stages, and a bunch of them did not go through these stages, went through other stages, right? So it gives what I say, at a certain level of abstraction, it gives what happens at certain set points in time. So, however, there are limits and constraints to process mining. One of which I hinted before, which is that as we look at backend logs, we are constrained to the atomicity of the log itself, right? So if a log records that a certain event has happened at a certain point in time, and that at another point in time, another event has happened, we are only seeing these committed states of data. We are not seeing, for example, that the user agent on the desktop did 10 other actions, but going from one committed state of data to another committed state of data, right? And so that forms another level of invisibility that I was talking about earlier, is that this level of invisibility still does not tell us what is the actions of the human, where are the opportunities for optimization, where is work being done, where are the chances of a compliance or a risk which is happening on the screen, and that is completely missed out. And so there is this fundamental difference between backend process mining and what that backend process mining or the log-based process mining misses. And of course, the obvious thing, that not all systems write backend logs, right? So only a few systems do, and heavens help if we are using things like Citrix, or we are using antiquated systems, green screens, and a lot of which exist today in the enterprise, right? AS400 terminals exist, and we are accessing them through a screen, and there are no logs there, right? So what do you do in those cases? So those are the two things that we believe that, process mining, in that sense, powerful as it is, you require a different approach to be able to get beyond these committed states of data. The other notion that we wanted to highlight is that across boards of large organizations and small organizations today, one thing that has absolutely been clear over the last few years is that the world is moving from a service-based economy to a more experience-based economy. And in that sense, customer experience has come to the fore. And we believe that customer experience is ultimately premised on the work employees or people or digital actors are doing in the front office, middle office, and the back office. And the heart of the work that people are doing is the business processes that organizations are running. So therefore, we believe that the heart of both employee experience and customer experience is process. And if you do not optimize processes, and if you do not have true understanding of business processes, then you do not have an understanding of where do you have a compliance risk, an operational risk, a customer experience that is degrading or can be brought up, You do not have the fundamental levers of that. So before we talk about customer experience and before we talk about transformation, we have to talk about employee experience. And without an employee experience can only be possible if we fundamentally understand our processes, not at the level of one committed state of data and another committed state of data. That is one answer, but actually what the employee is doing between those committed states of data. So one way to get beyond this problem of, hey, we cannot talk to people, they won't tell us too much, right? There is a fundamental limit to what they will tell. And even if they do, then more often than not, they will tell us what they are supposed to be doing, not what they actually do. Right? So in that sense, what is the answer? The answer is to observe. If I were to ask someone, how do they drive a car? They can only describe it at a certain level of abstraction, right? They can describe, well, they do these 5 things and that's how they drive a car. But if I were to truly understand how they drive a car, then I cannot ask them. I have to observe and I have to watch what they do and have telematics data associated with other things that I can get from the environment and place all these things together, create context, and then it is I can understand how does a human truly drive a car. So therefore, in our approach too, at Skan, we observe work at high scale and precision to capture process nuances. When I say observe, we actually use computer vision. And in much the same way that this kind of webinar is being brought to you through my screen to your screens, in much the same way that a Zoom, GoToMeeting, WebEx, Citrix, whatever, transmits screen from one place to another, that is our input. We use that input to understand what kind of applications are coming on an agent screen, what are the actions that they're doing, how they're moving their cursor, what fields are they accessing, all of them visually. And the reason we do that visually is because we believe that not many systems will write logs. Also, there are antiquated systems that have no analytics in the backend. And the only interface where the digital rubber hits the digital road is where humans interact with their screens. So our virtual process agents, the Skan virtual process agents, record human interaction with screens. We record that. And based on that, we are able to understand the nuances and the exceptions and the paths and the actions that people do to be able to create process maps and their innumerable process variants. The question arises, how do we do it? I would say 3 parts to what we do. Number one is based on observation, build out and map the interactions, right? So what kind of interaction do you have with an application? Are you toggling between 2 applications? Are you copy pasting data? Are you moving from one application to another, right? All of these form part of interactions. And from this, we map out the process, the dark parts of the process, and build a meta model of the process itself, right? What is it that people are doing at the atomic level, and how does that build upwards? We use this data to be able to do simulation, re-engineering, and be able to allow people to do target process design. So a large part of target process design involves a certain set of hypotheses, right? Based on the data we have, we are able to reduce those set of hypotheses to a select few where people can really focus their attention on, right? And this is very different from, let us say, a human language description of work, which comes across or which is created by human BAs, right? You cannot simulate that documentation of that process. You cannot, fundamentally, you don't have the data to re-engineer it, right? So this is data-driven descriptions of work itself. So that is one part in terms of you get some data and you use that to either create a new process or make a digital intervention. Then the second part is to be able to continuously manage and monitor the impact of these interventions that we are doing. It may be automation. It may be any kind of change in tooling, change in process, training of people. But as you do these things, right, from a compliance perspective, from a conformance perspective, from a prediction perspective, you need to continuously be able to monitor what is happening after you made the change that you're looking to, or even if you've not made the change, if there's a subtle thing, a certain training that is being given to people, you'd like to be able to see what's happening within the enterprise after the change, right? So there is a pre-step of observation, and there is a post-step of continuous monitoring using essentially the same tooling. The tooling remains the same. It watches work and understands work and gives you a delta between what is ideal and what people are doing. At the core of our engine is our technologies around computer vision, deep image processing, neural nets, graph theory, and of course algorithms around anomaly detection and sequence prediction. I'd like to take a minute to talk about the impact of Skan at a global insurance major. We were tasked with a certain situation where the company had tried to optimize, had tried to do automation, capacity planning, and there were repeated failures in trying to do those things at scale, right? So a large population of users using a large number of digital systems, and a plethora of different processes. And within that context, the company is trying to optimize, capacity plan, do compliance, or even find opportunities for automation at scale. And this led to repeated situations where what they found and what they intervened on would not yield the results they were looking for. And from our point of view, we showed them that the potential cause for this is lack of as-is state discovery and the knowledge of as a state at a atomic level between committed states of data, what people are doing. So our remit was to uncover hidden process variants, and from the data that we get from that, be able to show what kind of interventions they should be making, and having made those interventions, be able to see whether those interventions were effective or not, and then lead that to the next round of interventions that they would do, right? So all, as you're aware, right, all transformations are not one-point transformations. They have a transformation agenda. And what we allowed them to do was, A, be able to map, and then fundamentally be able to manage that transformational agenda. The results were extremely impactful. There was a almost 6x improvement in capacity planning and forecast in terms of the cases that they were handling. Almost a 10+ fold increase in process compliance. A lot of opportunities for retraining of individuals, or being able to find out bottlenecks within the application ecosystem, that what applications were people inherently spending time on, and was it a bottleneck because all of them were spending a lot of time on, or only a few of them were spending a lot of time on where others were doing it faster, and therefore did certain people need precision training or on certain aspects of the tooling. And that is essentially what led to this 10-fold plus increase in not just in compliance, but also in where you need to change application or tooling, or you need to bring in automation. So summing up, some of Skan's benefits are, one, that process mining is powerful, but discovery leads us to that which process mining will find it difficult to find or decipher or to bring to light. And in that sense, we offer process discovery, modeling, design, supervision, using a simple but a very powerful way. And the simplicity of this is that you don't need to do any kind of backend integrations. You don't need process logs. You don't need access to any systems. You don't need to prepare data lakes. All we need is the ability to put a Zoom or a GoToMeeting like probe to be able to share screens from populations at scale. We use that visual data to be able to build out business process maps. And these business process maps then become a very powerful tool in your hands to be able to map, model, and manage processes within your enterprise, and do that continuously, not a one-time thing. So it becomes, in that sense, supervisory, AI-based supervisory, and brings a level of evidence to the expertise that process owners already have. So in that sense, we bring evidence to expertise. So those are some of the things that we have been doing. So you can, using us, you can automate with, for example, you could use RPA with much more confidence. You can understand and implement processes and re-engineering based on data rather than anecdotal evidence that is created by business analysts or generic consultants. And then, of course, as I said, continuously manage business process drift, and not your quarterly audit, but continuous audit or continuous compliance or continuous risk assessment, right? And of course, continuous view on quality and the experience that is being created by the business process. With that, I will take a pause and open to questions. Seth, are questions coming into you, or are you going to ask those questions?
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much. This was really great. I know that because there are a lot of questions here. So we'll start off by putting this one to you. Thank you. Good thought. But wouldn't they? We're going to challenge you right away. Thank you. Good thought. But wouldn't the person whose screen is being monitored be conscious of his or her screen getting logged, and there would be bias of how the process is being carried out? Will this add delay in activity execution and a bit of noise in the data being captured?
This question is from, and I can see the question is from Anubhav Vanmali. Anubhav, thanks for asking the question. If I got $1 every time this question is asked, I'd be a rich man. And you're 100% right. You are 100% right. I mean, jaws drop many times when we tell customers about what we do. And yes, there is this aspect of being able to see the screen and therefore the person being conscious about what they do, which is why there are two aspects to our monitoring, which I did not mention, but since you've asked, is that this monitoring that we do, or the recording of screens, is A, it is continuous, and B, it is unobtrusive. So when I say continuous, I mean that it is for a period of time. We do not say to people, show us what you do, and therefore we will record. This is not recorded play. What we do is we ask people that they should continue to work that they are working, and this recording is a background process which does not have anything to do with their work itself, right? So their work is ad hoc. The recording continues for weeks on end, and it is only after a few weeks that we are able to then figure out what is ad hoc, what is noise, what is it that people do all the time, right? So in that sense, we try to create a long period of time to remove the consciousness and the bias that comes in because people know they are being monitored. So it's over a long period of time, and this does not add any delay in activity execution in what is being captured. So thank you for asking the question, but yeah. I think we make sure that that does not defeat the very purpose that we are setting out for.
There we go. And if you think that's the last tough question, think again. How would you identify or map this agent-specific monitoring data to a transaction ID, for example, a PO number?
Excellent question again. The way we do it is because we have screen data. And the AI is trained to look for and even be pointed towards certain identifiers on the screen that uniquely will allow us to point out that this is the same piece of work coming back from one station to another, or it's the same piece of work being done on that same station. So through computer vision, we are able to uniquely identify pieces of work by looking at traces or signatures of things that are on the screen.
Great. Here we go again. Is Skan one and done? How, after discovery, tooling, and improvement, does Skan continue to show value?
No, Skan is not one and done, Mark. And Mark Schaefer he mentions U.S. Army, so we salute Mark. Mark, thank you for the good work you're doing. The Skan is not one and done. the whole notion of transformation is continuous transformation. One of our customers is the chief transformation officer of a multinational insurance company, and she says that it is easy to transform, but it is difficult to stay transformed. And that is at the heart of Skan, because we do continuous observation. Once you make an intervention based on the discovered data, you then see how processes begin to drift and change over time. And then you can bring back that drift based on this continuous monitoring. So think of us as a Fitbit rather than as a surgical one-time operation. The Fitbit is what tells you on a daily basis how you're doing and maps out your history, as well as gives you a sense of whether the getting up in the morning is helping or not, kind of thing, or as the X-ray that is done before you do surgery.
Right.
In that sense, I'll pause here.
Yeah, that have you used that Fitbit analogy before? Because that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next question: do you often have to justify the need to screen monitor a client's employees in order to improve processes? If so, what are some of your arguments, persuasive statements?
Well, we just heard one persuasive statement about which noted authorities said was a good metaphor. Yes, the metaphor of continuous monitoring and so on and so forth in terms of being able to see how people are performing. And also because I think that the level at which we are trying to transform processes today are at the atomic level. And if you're trying to automate at atomic level, if you're trying to look at compliance and risk entering into the picture at atomic level, how can you not understand processes at atomic level, right? And that's the argument fundamentally that we give, that if you want to transform work, why would you not have an understanding of work to begin with? And work is not these committed states of data that invoice processing started and invoice processing ended. What you want is a much more detailed description of work, and which is where then you then check out on compliance, on opportunities for automation, on re-engineering and transformation. So from our own personal experience, and we've been working with very large organizations are very amenable to understanding this. The only question that they ask is, what is the implication on privacy? What's the implication on employee sensitive data and so on and so forth, right? That's the thing that we once we explain, customers have been working with us.
All right, and I'm going to ask this question as it's written. I'm also going to ask it how I think it is meant to be written. So what is the typical budget of a Skan project? And I'm also going to ask the question, what budget is needed to implement Skan?
I can tell you that our pricing is not meant to break anyone's back.
All right.
We've not made our pricing public right now. But certainly not made to be, and it is also built on the number of agents that you are monitoring. So it's a subscription price, a very small subscription price per person, per desktop, per year, and you use that as a supervisory AI. If you had a large enough team, you would, or even a small team, you would spend much more on, on supervisor or team leads than you would spend on Skan in a year. So that's the level of pricing we are at. So very, very, very amenable. From a continuous monitoring and a continuous improvement perspective at a large enough population of digital workers.
All right. So I don't know how you would answer this. We understand that there might be IP here that you might not want to share, but would the output of your recordings be compatible with any of the process mining vendors in the market?
It is possible to take out some output from us and put it into open source tools like Prem and visualize them. However, because those tools were built at a point in time when they did not have access to the kind of atomic data that we are creating, the implications of that and the interventions that we are pointing out, for example, here is a training opportunity, here is an automation opportunity, right? We are pointing out on our console. Those may not be possible there, but it is entirely possible to export some of our output that we are generating into BPMN technology, into Prem, into other process mining technologies. So it's entirely possible.
All right. Can you show an example of an analysis with Skan? What does the result look like that is delivered by the software?
One of the challenges of doing a generic webinar like this is that we don't have the opportunity to demo to you If you should go to www.skan.ai and just put in your email, I can promise you that we will get back to you and set up a demo.
Excellent. All right. Moving on. You got a lot of questions.
Skan, SKAN.ai.
There we go. All right. How is it, well, let me try to rephrase this. How is it going to help the voice, the front end call center process? And would it be cloud-based or on-prem? So two different questions there.
Sorry, I lost that.
So first question is it cloud-based or on-prem?
So it is hybrid. There are certain parts of the thing where privacy and customer data is involved that continues to be with the customer. There's an on-prem part. And then there are the machine learning algorithms that are in the cloud, which is not on-prem. So it's a hybrid mechanism.
Totally hybrid. Okay. And then the first part of the question is really a call center question. How can this help voice front-end call center processes?
I think that the question, and I'm sorry, I've lost track of who's asking these questions, so there are a lot of things coming up. So my apologies if I'm not addressing you directly, but I greatly appreciate these questions, everyone. In call centers, one of the things is that you pick up the phone and call, right? So long as this is a phone that is triggered from the screen, we are able to capture that. If it's a totally offline action, and phone call is an example of an offline action where you do something on the screen, you pick up the phone and call someone, or you fill out a paper-based form, we are unable to capture those, right? Because we are looking at the screen and not, the person behind the, a person in front of the screen. However, we do allow, based on the digital process that is captured, we do allow process owners to enrich the digital process with manual actions. So you can, for example, insert manual actions. One of those will be a phone call at a certain point. But if it's on the screen, we'll definitely capture the timing and so on and so forth of what the amount of time spent on the phone kind of thing.
Fantastic. Okay, so moving on, we do only have a few minutes left, but we're going to try to get through as many of these questions as we can. Thank you for your presentation. Have you experienced a worry from customers that your observations are like a quote unquote big brother? Do employees find your monitoring too intrusive? How do you argue to such questions? Thank you. Best regards. So these are all very positively focused questions, right?
The question is from Lucy. Lucy, thank you for asking the question. You're absolutely right. There is a worry. And at the same time, there are, I would say, red, yellow, green areas. Green areas are where customers are already recording everything that is happening on the work desktop, right? Right from emails to any kind of file upload, download, everything is being recorded. And in that sense, and we have such customers who've said, well, because we're already recording that, recording the screen does not matter that much, number one. Then there are yellow areas where, of course, yes, you can, customers have a concern, but once you tell them that, hey, we are putting into place certain mechanisms around privacy and security, customers are more amenable. Then there are red areas, and we really respect the customers for saying that these are red areas, and we know what those red areas are, where we don't want to, record screens and so on. So, well, that's fine. That forms like 15% of the overall, process spectrum, or even lesser, maybe 5%. But the rest, 95%, is still available for us. Now, even if the question is not being asked, I'll still answer it. Is that what do we do to protect customer privacy, right? One is that, hey, number one, who are the two people who you're trying to protect here? One is the person who's working on the desktop, and let's say I'm the worker, right? I'm the agent, and I'm working, and every time I hit pay invoice, and then I want to take a break, I want to go to Facebook, and I record and I open Facebook on my own health record on my banking system. Will the system record this? No, it will not. Because at the start of the process, we actually allow customers to define an included list of applications and an excluded list of applications. So anything that is excluded will not form a part of the input stream. Number one. Number two, you might argue, well, yes, I am within the context of the application that I'm using, and on that application or business application, there is sensitive data about some other customer's credit card number, let's say, right, or some date of birth or whatever. How do you protect that? We protect that by providing intelligent masking. So our software is able to identify sensitive data, which it has been taught before that this is sensitive. And it can identify labels, it can identify text, it can identify the difference between labels and text. You can specify, I want all text redacted. I want all labels redacted. I want certain kind of labels redacted, which have date or social security number and so on and so forth. So it is able to perform a redaction at source. So as when some of you sign up for the demo, and there is a demo link on our website, if you sign up for the demo, we will show you that the data that we are collecting is actually full of blacked out data, and there's no way to recover any of those information because that's been destroyed at pixel level. So it's been averaged out at pixel level, so you can't get back the data. It's extremely secure.
Excellent.
My apologies for the very long answer.
No, excellent. Thank you so much for the entire presentation, as well as the answers to these questions. We will send you the rest of the questions so that you can get with the folks that have asked those questions and answer them one-to-one. We do have to close this session, but before we do, you're going to be prompted to answer survey questions. That's for you attendees that are here with us, and thank you for being with us. Please answer the survey. We really want your feedback there. So thanks to the attendees. Avinash, thank you so much for your time. Very much appreciate the presentation.
Seth and everyone on the call, thank you so much. It was a pleasure presenting to you. It would have been good if it had been done in person, but such are the times, so the webinars will be the way to go. So stay safe, keep washing your hands. Thank you.
Excellent. We will see you down the line.